Greetings, members, one and all of the Salivation Nation. Why you should buy gold now. Let's explore. Usually when someone tells you that you should do something in the immediate time frame, typically it's out of panic or fear-driven decision-making, which is the worst thing that you should do for any financial decision, just like with anything else. Decisions derived on fear typically don't end well. So why is this video titled, Why You Should Buy Gold Now? Well, there's a lot of different reasons, and even though there are concerning aspects of the economy in the marketplace, and there's economic uncertainty, and there's economic instability right now, we're going to talk a little bit about those factors that can play into your decision, but nonetheless, those decisions should maybe drive your rationale, but they should not drive you emotionally to make a purchase of any particular asset class or any investment strategy. It really should not take part in that as far as being driven by emotion. And that's something that I warn against on this channel. And part of it is because you can make improper decisions. You can be burned based off the promise of what a particular asset class is supposed to do, or the promise of what it's supposed to do. But even the safest of, quote, investments, in fact, I don't see gold as an investment. I'll talk about that here momentarily. Well, you can get burned by them. As I've said many times over the course of the past year or two, you can pick any two dates and time frames when prices were at any particular level and make any investment strategy or any investment that you make look really, really good or really, really bad. And I'll give you an example with gold that you see here before you. Gold in about August of 2020 reached over $2,000 an ounce. Well, right now it's just hanging out at around $1,800 an ounce. So those are two dates that gold did not fare well, and it's not been a good investment at the very worst. In fact, it has not been a good hedge, at the very least. And that's how I look at gold. Gold is an inflation hedge. It is a hedge not just against inflation, but economic instability. And this is why you won't really see me or hear me refer to gold as a hedge against inflation, because there's a lot of different factors that are there as well. In fact, this is why we should not think in terms of price when it comes to gold at any particular point in time. Now, on the opposite end of the spectrum, we can look back to where there was a time not that long before the pandemic when gold was trading around $1,500 or $1,600 an ounce. And now it is $1,800 an ounce, a $200 price difference in the opposite direction. And so therefore, gold has done very well. In fact, one can make the argument that if you take those two dates and time frames, that gold has certainly preserved your wealth, and maybe then some a little bit if you take into account inflation. So there you have it. Now, why the immediacy of the title of this video? Why you should buy gold now? Well, because there's really no time like the present. And when you take into account all the different factors that are coming into play, the things that have been happening in the past, especially in recent history, and things that we know are coming in the future, well, it makes sense to have a little bit of gold as part of your portfolio. And by the way, some of you may already have some gold. Some of you may be primarily silver stackers. Maybe you're seeing this video for the very first time and getting into precious metals. And I believe this is a video that could speak to you at any time frame, no matter what is going on in the economy. Because the economy could start doing well and recover. We really don't know what's going to happen. I believe in the ingenuity of the free enterprise system. And sometimes that free enterprise system has to work against the central planners and a lot of the government overreach. And many times it can be very agile in that regard. We've seen that happen in other areas of the economy. So when you take that into account, well, typically the economy can do well and can improve during times of government overreach and even to some degree higher taxation. But that can only happen so long and for so long. But regardless, if the economy does improve for one reason or another, well, that means that the prices for gold will drop a bit. And if you buy now when they're a little bit higher and they drop, well, there's no time like the present, whenever that may be, to accumulate a bit more gold for that rainy day or that day where there may be economic instability and uncertainty and the prices go up, and you have it for that. I think of gold as an insurance policy, and an insurance policy that really only pays dividends when it's needed. And so therefore, buying it in times like the present is a good way to, to help protect yourself down the road. And by the way, I'm talking about physical gold, like what you see here before you. There are other ways to accumulate gold as well. And those are electronic ways. There's investment strategies with gold, such as mining stocks. You can use exchange-traded funds. You can invest in that regard. But with those, you really don't have the physical to back them up. And you really aren't holding physical gold in your possession. You are hedging your portfolios by essentially the convenience of an electronic transfer, which is instantaneous, instantly liquidable, and it's liquid in so much that you're not cashing out for the gold that is supposedly backed up. And there's a lot of derivatives in that sector, but it is a matter of getting a cash reward or cash to liquefy those holdings. And but having actual physical gold, I believe, is important because you hold the metal. There is a drawback to buying physical in so much that you do have premiums that you are have to deal with, and obviously storage issues and security issues with it. But you plan and think those things through, and being that gold is so small and packs a lot of value in such a small space, well, it becomes quite easy to store it comparatively and hide it if need be, compared to things like silver or land in that regard. But land is a whole other area of measure of kind of a wealth preservation or what have you. But that is volatile, and you have to pay taxes on that every year. Gold, though, is a metal that has stood the test of time in the physical form and has been recognized for thousands of years as that store of value. And there are other aspects and attributes to it that I think that have stood that test of time, but they are at war, in a sense, with other investment strategies. And I think that is why silver, and especially gold, is really unloved right now, even though the price of gold has not really dropped down a whole lot from its all-time high. And that is another argument for buying gold even right now, because gold is the least volatile of all the precious metals out there in terms of its hanging on to its price. Its price movement, one way or the other, is much more stable than silver, much more stable than the platinum group metals, and that's why it's a good idea to buy it. Now, the other reason why some may be reluctant to purchase gold is, well, it's expensive. And really, even if the prices drop for the other precious metals, anything over $1,000 or anything over $500 may be a high sum of money and difficult for anybody to accumulate an appreciable amount of gold. Well, my argument to that is that anybody can buy gold if you are serious about wealth preservation and essentially stacking to protect yourselves. And that is what gold is about. And you can buy it in various different forms and formats. And here we see an example of a wide variety of ways to accumulate gold. More than likely, you are not going to be buying a 100-gram gold bar out of the gate. In fact, the only reason why I was able to get this 100-gram gold bar is because I cashed out one of my IRAs for the previous employer. And only just now am I preserving my wealth with this bar for what it cost me with the price of gold rising to the level and taking the tax hit on it. I'm just now barely breaking even on holding this bar. In fact, if I really did the math with it, I probably still haven't broken through yet with considering the hit I took on this with taxes in order to make this happen. But nonetheless, that is an extreme way to buy gold. And I would encourage you to be smart in your buying gold. You'll notice the title of this video is not you should buy 100 ounces of gold right now, or 50 ounces of gold right now, or even 1 ounce of gold right now. It's not about the amount. It's about really diversification, even from within precious metals, if you're a hardcore stacker, for instance, because you can buy smaller sizes. You can get 1 ounce coins are probably the best option to be able to save in terms of in order to save money on premiums for the size differential, for the size comparison. And that is probably the most accurate way to be able to buy gold on a consistent basis, is to buy it in 1 ounce size. Now, the 1 ounce size gold coins are very expensive for the average person. It's difficult to buy an ounce of gold at any given point in time. It really is. You have to save up. You have to be very disciplined in that area. So there is the 1 ounce size may not be the best option for most people. The next size down would be a ½ ounce, and that is still very, very expensive. But the ½ ounce size is a good size to avoid taxes. I don't have a ½ ounce coin here to show you an example, but nonetheless, you can get fractional sizes and be able to purchase them. Now, taxes are something that's becoming more and more difficult to avoid. Well, they just weren't collected for quite a long time for fractional or for purchases online for precious metals. Now, most states have $1,000 break-off point to where that's exempt from taxes if you spend $1,000 or more. So it's almost worth it, even if you're buying silver, to purchase more than $1,000 worth so that you avoid those taxes, because essentially you're getting hit not only on premiums for these coins and bars and rounds, but also on taxation. So because of that, gold is an attractive way to get some wealth with very little hit on taxes if you get over $1,000. And so, but if you can't do that, well, then the next best size is going to be your 1/4 ounce size, where you're going to be hit on not only premiums being increased, but they're really not as bad as one might think for the 1/4 ounce size. It almost is a sweet spot. It used to be the sweet spot for gold purchases, the 1/4 ounce size, but then you are hit on taxes on those. And so that is something to consider for that. And the worst case scenario would be 1/10 ounce gold size. 1/10 ounce of gold is a very tiny coin, usually in these cases. And being that it's so small, it makes it almost impractical, because it'd almost be very easy to lose. So you'd almost would need it to be in a capsule or in a flip, and so that it can be something larger and easier to maintain and take care of. But for some people, that is the only way they can make a purchase, because they're literally, a couple $100 as opposed to $1,000 or $600-700, $500-600. And so that is your next best option, is a 1/10 ounce size. You're going to pay the most premium for those. And so you're getting very little gold with a fairly hefty premium, but you're still at least getting some gold in your portfolio. It just takes longer to really make that work for you because you're hit on premiums and you're hit on taxes for those. Now, the next best option here would be foreign gold, which for those of you in the United Kingdom or Mexico or what have you, this may not apply because these are most obviously the best options for you. But foreign gold is typically, unless it's Eagles, has lower premiums, and they also have somewhat odd weights, like this half sovereign here. And so when you take that into account, you have to be able to calculate and understand what you're buying, but they typically do have lower premiums and are mass-produced enough as bullion that you can accumulate a good amount of gold for a much lower premium. And I've done a video about this in the past, but to buy gold right now, if you really want to save and get a little bit of gold for not a whole lot of money, although again, you will be paid taxes unless somehow some local coin shops will just include it in the price. Typically, this is going to be your best and most efficient way to accumulate gold in a small scale, small level for with the least amount of premium, and that is the 2 pesos. I think it's 0.06 of an ounce. So just over a 20th of an ounce here of gold. These little coins are amazing and carry a very small premium. And so you have to shop around, but there are ways to spend a very little money on gold and have gold in your portfolio and in your collection. But again, very, very tiny. And if you're going to buy these things, you want to make sure you don't lose them because they are very small. You see it compared to my thumbnail there. But nonetheless, they're very different. There's different ways to buy gold. In fact, one of the lowest premium gold coins in the 1 ounce size is going to be your Krugerrand. You can get these fairly cheaply. And also the American Arts metals that the United States Mint produce because, well, they don't have any notations or any inscriptions that say really what the purity are, but they are 90% gold and are recognized mostly. So there's some different ways to buy it, but I would encourage you to buy it. And why now? Well, because now there's no time like the present. And so considering what's going on with inflation and considering where we are at now, and we're not that far off the record high for gold, I believe it is poised to probably still go up in price, and that will probably be coming sooner than you think. And now it could go the other way as well. But if it does, that's okay. That means things are probably stabilizing and normalizing, and you have it as a form of protection. And that is really what it's about. It's a win-win situation, in my view. So that's why you should buy gold now, at least a little bit. So let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. And I want to encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.